Here's an interesting story from my youth about power. Put aside your politics for a second and don't be judging me for being a gun owner. I'm not here to talk about, even though I'm a strong believer in the Second Amendment, but when I was much, much younger, very young man, we have gun shows where I live on a regular basis. 2 or 3 a year probably. And we have a great, huge, giant one. And it's a great place to buy a gun, and get a gun reasonably sometimes. Most of the stuff's overpriced, but I found it very frustrating the first few years I would go to these gun shows and try to get a gun or something, or buy anything, not just guns, but there's collectibles and all sorts of stuff at these shows, knives and antiques and things. And I was in the antique business. So I'd go to these shows and I'd walk up, and hi, how you doing? I'm a nice guy, and I was young, and I was like a lot of young guys. I'm like, hi, how you doing? Oh, that's a nice gun. Can I look at that? And these guys sit behind their tables and be like, yeah, I guess. But I'd be like, oh, that's a nice, I'd be all nice and trying to be nice, hoping I'd get a good price, Remind you of anything? I'd be nice to them, and, oh, that's a nice gun. Wow, that's cool. Nice table you got here, I thought like a lot of young men do, that being nice gets you things out of life. And they always treated me like shit. Absolute crap. And I'd go back year after year, and it bugged me, it really did. Finally, one year it dawned on me that I was being nice, and they weren't being nice. And the next year I went back, and this partially was also in regards to I ended up getting tables to these shows with antiques for sale and guns and stuff too, and collectibles and things. And I went back, and the next year, and I purposely made a decision. I decided not to be nice. I decided to be dominant and be who I really am anyway. Stop trying to be something I wasn't, which is now just something else if you're thinking about with women and men. So I went back the next year, and when I walked to the table and I saw something I liked, I'd be like, hey, how you doing? What's the price on you? And I'd basically be very clipped, kind of dominant, you know what I'm saying? Just very like, fuck you, I don't need your shit, Yeah. So I wasn't mean, I wasn't rude, I wasn't like, Liz's a piece of shit. I was just like, oh, that's interesting, yeah. That's not too bad. Not a bad gun. Well, and usually what I do is pick out something about the gun that I didn't like so much. I'd say, even if I did like it, like if I was looking for a 9mm, I'd pick the gun up and say, well, I really wanted this model in 45, and I'd put it back on the table. Yeah. Sometimes I'd even wear my gun show badge from the previous year, even if I didn't have a table. And what happened all of a sudden was, all these mean men I used to go talk to at the gun shows were treating me with respect. I was able to negotiate with them because I was negotiating from a position of power. Because I let them know, I don't give a shit about you, I'm not going to be nice to you, I'm here to buy a gun, you want to sell me a gun at a decent price, you better deal with me in a way that I can do that. I just changed my whole persona. Literally became a different guy, so to speak. I dropped off all this nice guy crap. And that's when I began to realize that being nice in life doesn't always get what you want. It's like a dog that rolls over on its back and shows its belly. How many of you have gone to bars or other places, or even the hardware store, or wherever you are at work, and you constantly show your bellies to women? You're being weak. You're showing weakness. Being nice. I actually had a former girlfriend once I'd say to me, I'd fallen totally in love with her, and I'd become a big jellyfish. And she said, you're too nice. I was like, what? And you've heard women talk about men that way. Well, that's what they're talking about. It's not being nice that bothers them. It's you're being weak. You're putting up with their shit. You're not correcting them when they're doing stuff you don't like. You're not reacting to the mean things they do in a normal human way, which is be like, what are you saying that for? What's going on here? You roll over, you show your belly in hopes they won't hurt you. It's a natural human instinct. But going to gun shows and talking to these gun dealers and being nice, showing my belly, did not help me. What helped me was when I started talking to them and being dominant with them, and not trying to dominate them or domineer them, but just when I went there, and instead was just like, hey, I don't need this shit. I don't need your guns. I didn't say that to them, but my attitude conveyed everything, okay? It conveyed everything. And later in life, when I became single again, got out of my long-term relationship, I began using that lesson and everything else I knew about women by then anyway. With women, I don't treat them meanly, but I don't walk to women in bars. Can I buy you a drink? No, like a drink's gonna get them to suck your dick. It ain't gonna get them to suck your dick. There's a video on my channel about how to deal with manipulative women. And I say in that video, the reason why I told her no is because she ain't gonna suck my dick. She thinks she can walk to me and tell me to do things, and, because she's a woman and she's got a nice body and she's young. This happened about 12 years ago. I'm going to put up with that. I'm going to roll over and go, oh, sure, you're a woman. Oh, I'll do whatever you want. I hold you on a pedestal because you have a vagina. I'm going to do whatever you want in life, and I'll destroy a $15 cigar because you don't like it. Screw that. I said, no. Watch the video. It's a funny video. Lighting's terrible, but the video's funny. Again, having not a dominant persona, not a domineering persona, having a persona that's manly and that's not phony. Because guys who do this, that same night that happened, the incident happened, there was a guy across from us, an older guy. He's fat, he's out of shape, he's older in the hills. There was 4 or 5, 6 girls he was standing amongst, young girls, college girls, and he was buying drink after drink after drink. They just used him for his money. Oh, here's you one drink, I'll buy you a drink. This guy thought this is going to get him some pussy. No, it's not. It's not going to give him any pussy because, the guy they liked was Lance. The guy was the bartender, the big tall bartender, who had a V-shaped body and muscles, and didn't give a shit about them. He didn't care about them. Lance may have been gay for all I know. He wasn't interested in these women for the most part. But they all adored him. He's in a position of power. He's a bartender. If you can be a bartender, be a bartender. But this experience I had with the gun show people, and in my own dealings, when I had my antique store, I didn't gush over customers. If the customers wanted to make me a lower offer on an antique I was selling, I was like, I was resistant to it. It's a good deal. You know what it is. I might listen to an offer maybe. And they make an offer. I can't do that, but I'll do this. I would negotiate with them. But being a weak man, portraying weakness in any way with women is just the worst thing you can do. And that includes wanting women too much. We all want women. But if you allow them to know that, it's not going to work for you. I'm not saying you got to be an asshole. I'm not saying you got to be a dick. And I'll make the next video about the difference between being an asshole and being strong. There's a difference. There's a big difference. Well, that's it for this video. Hope you enjoyed the story. Again, if you have any questions about love, sex, or relationships, please write me through the YouTube messaging system, and I will make a video and answer your question on video. All right, guys. Well, next video coming up, because I also want to tell you about this situation.